Last week, a friend of mine sent me an email asking me about how to draw the profiled edge on this piece of this gallery for a Pennsylvania secretary that was featured in an old issue of Fine Woodworking. He was having some difficulties getting the profile swept around the shape of these curves, and as luck would have it, when SketchUp 2017 was released the other day, they included a major upgrade to the offset tool that makes this quite easy, and so I thought I'd show that here. Take a look. So as usual, we'll start with a little bit of layout. Now, I've imported a screenshot that I made from the article showing the profile of this part. It would seem reasonable to trace it, and in some cases I think that's the best option. In this case, I think we have enough dimensions that we don't need to do that, and I think we can lay it out better, probably more accurately, if we just use the drawing tools that we've got. The curve is dimensioned with radius numbers, which implies that they're circular curves, so we'll end up using the circle tool for that. I'm going to place a few guidelines. You can see, by the way, that this is only showing half of the finished board, so that's what we're going to draw. And I only imported this image into SketchUp so that you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing and see where I'm headed. For my own use, I probably wouldn't bother importing this image. I'd just display the PDF on my second monitor, or maybe have a printout of it. So we'll start with some guidelines. I'm going to put one on the red axis. That's kind of going to be this front edge here, and put one along there just because, and then come off of that. I lopped off that dimension, but it's 13/16, and then we have 4 3/8, and 2, and that's going to be enough for the moment. We'll deal with the rest of this in a little bit. And before I get to drawing these curves, I'm going to do a couple of other things. I'm going to show you one real quick trick that I use fairly frequently to avoid having to do math. The math for splitting this in the middle is not that difficult, but it's kind of neat to just let SketchUp show you where that is. And that line that we're finished with. And then these, so that's a line for the center curve. The other two are 5/8 of an inch radius. I'm going to put a guideline at 5/8 there. I'm going to draw that first curve using the arc tool, not the 2-point arc, but the arc. So I'm going to start with the center, and I'm just going to draw a half circle, and then to make the one for the other side, I'm just going to copy what I've already drawn, put it over there. Now that larger radius is 1 5/8 of an inch. So back to the tape measure. I could have put this in before, but 1 5/8 gives me the center. And I'm going to use the arc tool again. This time I'm going to increase the number of sides from 12 to 24. I'm not going to use very many of those sides in the first place when all's said and done here, but this we'll make it a little smoother. And so there's that arc, and I could have started down here somewhere and ended up over here, but it's a lot easier to do that, and then I know I have a point right there. And then, well, I'm going to put a guideline in here. For myself, I wouldn't do that, but I just want you to see that I'm hitting the same point on the outside of these arcs. I'm going to connect them with a straight line segment coming off this way. And then to make sure I hit the same one on the other side, I'll just, that guideline made that easier. Alright, so I don't need those, though, that, or that. And there is the entire curve, and I'm going to use weld to weld those together, and then I can copy that down here. So that gives me those two curves. Let's see, we'll come around here, go back 3 inches, and over this way, let's go 18 1/8 because that's halfway, and we'll come over this way. And now, because I don't know what that half distance is, I probably should, but I'd never checked it. We'll just start over and draw the rest of this the other direction. That goes that way, and then 7/8, and it's 3 1/8, and back up, and oops, I went too far. I come here and there, and so there's the entire half profile laid out. I don't need the guidelines, so I'll just get rid of those. Now the next step would typically be to make this thing three-dimensional, and I'll go ahead and do that, and then draw the profile for this roundover, and I'll figure out where to start my arc. It's a 3/8 inch radius. I can use that same arc tool again. One thing SketchUp is telling me here that my 24 segments is too large for the radius and the angle, so it's reduced the number of segments to what it can handle. That's kind of a new thing actually with SketchUp 2016, and it continues in 2017, which is what I'm working in here. Alright, we'll select all those edges, and run follow me. That seems like a good idea, and so we'll click. Now the problem with follow me this way is that we end up with some weird artifacts. I've got, well, you can see that this little thing happened here, this little pointy section, and there's a hole there, and there's a hole here, and of course several other places along the way. Now we could scale this up, and that would help us not have the holes, but there's a better way. So I'm going to undo that push-pull or follow me operation, and then I'm going to undo the arc, and I'm even going to undo the, actually let's redo the push-pull, because suppose you drew this thing and you wanted to get it all laid out, and then you decided to add that profile. You can still do that here using a different approach, or sort of a different layout. So I'm going to select those edges. And you can do this in any version of SketchUp. However, with SketchUp 2017, they made a really nice change to the offset tool. And I'm going to offset this and come back 3/8 of an inch. Now, if you do this in any earlier version, you'll find that you get all sorts of weird artifacts at corners that all have to be cleared up. With SketchUp 2017, the offset tool handles even complicated shapes like this very easily. So now I'm going to use push-pull and push that away. And now I'm going to draw the profile there. And I better draw a little line segment in there. And now if I just do this at this size, I'll still end up with some little gaps. So I'm going to avoid the little gaps by scaling up, and I'm going to use the method that I typically use. So I'm going to make a component of this and call it the seat board, since that's what we're drawing. And I'm going to make a copy. We'll just stuff it back there, and then I'm going to use the scale tool, and I'm going to blow that one up, scale it up, use zoom extents. And then I'm going to select all those edges. Like so. And then I'm going to use follow me in an additive mode. And look at how nice it made those profiles. We'll get rid of that line and all of, actually let's just do this. Let me undo that. I'm going to, it's a little faster to select this entire face and then deselect the edges that I don't want and hit the delete key to get rid of the ones the lines I don't want to keep. And there is the half with the profile. Zoom extends, we'll go back to the original. And now I'll make the other half of this. So I've just selected all of that inside the component. And copy that over. Flip along the red direction to create a mirror image. And I'm going to select, actually we'll just do this area here. Sometimes I find it's useful to do an intersect with selection, and then I just deleted the seam line, and that seat board is complete short of adding the grooves for the dividers. Anyway, I hope that gives you something to chew on, and play with that offset tool if you're going to be using SketchUp 2017. I think you'll find that that was a really nice improvement. One other thing I'd like to show about this, working with this gallery, is the drawer fronts follow this same curve. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time laying out the whole drawer front, but let me show you how I got the drawer fronts. I'm going to open this for editing and select that curve. And then I'm going to use keyboard shortcut to copy that. So now I've got that on the clipboard. I'm going to close the component, and then I'm going to use Edit, Paste in Place, and it's outside the component. So I'm going to draw that line, and I'm going to come back. Nope, it was 3/4 of an inch. And over here, and then I'm just going to come over there for the moment. I should have looked at this to see that line. Actually, I'm just going to copy that, so then I don't have to worry about getting it the right length. Delete that little end segment, and there's a face to pull up to make the drawer front. I didn't pay any attention to the height, but we'll just make a quick component so that you can see that all I have to do now is copy that down here, and I've got two drawer fronts. The other curves that match these all come off of that original curve there, so it's kind of a slick way to handle duplicating those curves.